Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another traditional draft of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Without further ado, let's get into our pack one, pick one. Definitely got some sweet options here. I think the strongest card in the pack is Bilbo, Retired Burglar. Any one of these cards that's going to have the ring tempt us multiple times can be really nice, because getting to level 2 is great, where you get to draw and discard a card every turn, and getting to level 4 can be a really nice alternate win condition, pinging your opponent for a ton of life. So Bilbo is super good, and also a great ring bearer because you get to get those treasure tokens as you're pinging your opponent with them. So I think I'm going to take Bilbo here. If you don't like starting with a multicolored card because it keeps you a little bit locked off, you can scoop up an Errand Rider of Gondor here as one of the strongest monocolored cards, or Torment of Gollum if you just prefer black to white, but those are the best commons in my opinion, the best monocolored cards in the pack as well. And after that, there's some other solid stuff like Protector of Gondor, but I'm happy to start with a Bilbo. See if that works out for us. Pack 1, pick 2. We could take Rally at the Hornburg out of red. It's definitely in the top 3 strongest cards in this pack, and it would fit pretty well into a Bilbo deck, so I'll probably scoop that up. But we could also take Bill the Pony here. Definitely one of the strongest cards in the pack. A 1/4 that can often go into combat basically as a 4/4, dealing 4 damage instead of 1 damage because it's got 4 toughness. So really nice card there. Tons of good synergies with Bill as well. Bill is a great ring bearer because it's hard to block a 1-power creature, but then Bill can still get in for 4 damage. So I think Bill and Rally at the Hornburg are the strongest cards. After that, Enraged Horn's pretty good. That Enter the Battlefield Tempt. Ambush is a great combat trick. Landroval's a solid finisher. But I think it's really between Bill and Rally, and I'll go for Rally since we've started with a Bilbo. Ooh, pick 3, we see Claim the Precious, Easterling Vanguard, and the Torment of Gollum still in this pack, as well as an Ambush. 4 great black cards. There's also an excellent red uncommon with Grishnak, Brash Instigator, particularly good in aggressive decks, but really solid for pretty much anything in red. You're getting 3 power and toughness for 3 mana, which is already a good deal, and you're stealing an opposing creature till end of turn, potentially. I'm going to take the Grishnak here, sticking to our blue-red deck, but I could see an argument for one of these black cards because they're quite strong, particularly Claim the Precious. But one of the things that I like about taking Grishnak here and passing all this black is that this should put multiple people on our left into black. So if we stay out of black, then we should get past whatever is more open in pack 2, get a lot of good stuff late, because they're all going to be fighting over black to our left. Speaking of fighting over black, there's a Gollum's Bite now as the best card in the pack, an excellent cheap removal spell. I'm going to go for the Smite the Deathless here, another excellent cheap removal spell, but this one happens to be on color. And for pack 1, pick 5, we've now got not a whole lot. Frodo Baggins is the best card, but that's very far from what we're doing right now with 4 red cards in our deck. We could take an Arwen's Gift, which is a solid draw spell. Kingfisher's a fine card to trade off. Warbeast is pretty nice for like red-green and red-black. Not super good for red-blue. But we're not married to blue yet. We only have 1 blue card and 4 red. I could take Oliphant as a fine Mountain Cycler to fit into our deck no matter what. I guess I'm just going to keep cutting red, but I could see Arwen's Gift if we really wanted to play blue-red spells, or Warbeast if I wanted to stay open to red-black or red-green, but I'm just going to take Oliphant. Alright, there's another Warbeast. There's also Hithlane Knots for blue-red. Not too much in this pack outside of that. I'll go for the Warbeast. We'll just really cut red out of here. We are definitely a red deck. Now there's an Ent's Fury towards green-red, but I've already got a Smite in our main color, and I could just take another Warbeast. Let's get chunky over here. Mono red double Warbeast. None of these off-color cards are particularly good, so we can take Breaking of the Fellowship, which isn't great. The damaging ability off of this is not the greatest thing ever, but stack the damaging ability onto also getting some Ring Tempts You value, and you've got quite a solid card. So I will take Breaking at the Fellowship. I'll take another copy. I'm just going to draft every red card in the whole draft pod, and we might get pushed towards green-red. That's a very late Enraged Horn, the 4/5 Trampling Tree Folk, with the ring tempting us when it hits the board. Also a late Meriadoc, but that's not going to be Very exciting in green-red. Tree Folk's going to be a lot better. There's not really any overlapping food synergies in the green-red color pair, but we could definitely use some big beefy creatures, especially ones that have the ring tempt us when they enter the battlefield. Alright, Swarming of Moria sticks to mono red and lets us splash in stuff more easily. No respect for Shelob's Ambush, but I am happy to see all the other black cards are gone out of there. So everybody's scooping up black for sure. I almost feel like I'd rather take Bag End Porter than Swarming and just try to hop on to green-red because that feels like a pretty solid place to be in this draft pod. And we can just play some beef. Could be pretty fun. I don't think I've drafted green-red a single time yet, just green-red beef sticks. And we've opened up a pretty bad pack for green-red, unfortunately. We could splash in an Old Man Willow, though. Green has some very, very nice mana fixing in the format, and this is going to have power toughness equal to the number of lands we control, which is going to be quite big. Probably go for Old Man Willow. Could go for Glamdring, but it's kind of expensive. 2 mana to play it and 3 to equip. Equipped creature gets first strike and +1/+0 for each instant sorcery in your graveyard. Also, if you damage your opponent, you can cast an instant or sorcery from your hand for free, but that part doesn't really matter because by the time you're connecting with whatever you've equipped a Glamdring onto, you probably already have 4 or 5 mana minimum, and you can just cast almost any instant or sorcery in your deck. So it's really just, do you want a solidly sized first striking equipment? And generally, I'm not that interested in that for that amount of mana investment. Well, there's another Bilbo. It's kind of awkward because I don't think blue was massively open. But double Bilbo is a pretty big reason to try to be blue-red instead of red-green, even if we don't get too many other blue cards. Because we're so deep into red, we don't need that many cards in our secondary color. Could take a Great Hall of the Citadel to try to splash in Old Man Willow. It could also help splash in Bilbo. We could be red-green Great Hall of the Citadel if we get a bunch of copies of this. That could be interesting. I've not done that kind of draft deck either. Great Hall splashes. Alright, pack 2, pick 4. There's another Great Hall of the Citadel. Let's load those up. I could also take Gandalf, Friend of the Shire, which would be quite nice in blue-red with a lot of ring tempting, and we've got 2 Bilbos for ring tempting. We've got 2 Breaking of the Fellowship for ring tempting. Gandalf can draw you a lot of cards if the ring is tempting you a lot, so I'll take a Gandalf over the Great Hall of the Citadel, but I think that would also be a fine pickup. Glorious Gale out of blue, Lancer out of red. Well, we're definitely playing red, and Lancer is going to be a solid addition. We're going to have a lot of the ring tempting us, no matter what direction we go. So I'll take the Lancer there. There's a Fiery Inscription for blue-red. Maybe we do get to just go back to just blue-red. We've got double Bilbo, Gandalf, and now Fiery Inscription if we get a ton of instants and sorceries. Hoping to get a lot of instants and sorceries that create creatures. Yeah, I'm taking it over Quarrel's End, which would be the best card for blue-red outside of the inscription. Just some dirtly creatures otherwise. Or an elephant, so sure. Fiery Inscription it is. There's a Pelargir Survivor, incredible addition to the blue-red spells decks. Mana fixes and ramps for your instants and sorceries. There's a Quarrel's End as well, which would be great. Arwen's Gift would be great. Uruk-hai Berserker for black decks. We shipped so many great black cards, but there's still good ones coming around. Take another Rohirrim Lancer over Surrounded by Orcs, I think. Because unless you're like the Gandalf's Inscription blue-red spells deck, I don't think Surrounded by Orcs is super, super good. Although Lancer gets a lot worse in blue-red as well. You know what? I don't know. Surrounded by Orcs just feels real bad without the sanctions. I am still going to take Lancer, but it's close-ish. I'll take Hithlane Knots here. I'm not going to speculate on opening up a Gandalf sanction for Treason of Isengard. I'm just going to take the card that's going to be consistently good instead of maybe great. So we'll take a Hithlane Knots. Knights of Dol Amroth, I don't believe I'll be playing. Play 3 Breaking of the Fellowship, I suppose. And we only need 6 playable cards to have a complete deck. But preferably we'll get more additions to the deck than that, because we want more cheap instants and sorceries to improve this deck. So we want to get to where we have 23 cards, and then keep drafting good cheap instants and sorceries so we can cut Oleg High Crusher and stuff. So here we take Smite the Deathless, but Soothing a Smeagol would be a great wheel. Improvised Club would be fine as well. I will take the Smite the Deathless. Fear Fire Foes, let's go. S tier, mythic, rare, uncommon, bomb level threat, can wipe an entire board in this format relatively often. Blow up your opponent's, I don't know, 3/3 army, and then do 1 damage to their Grishnak and all their human tokens, stuff like that. Fear Fire Foes, exceptional card. I would love to get Rally at the Hornburg back, which doesn't feel super likely, but we did cut a lot of red cards. But maybe. If not that, we should be able to get either Isolation or Soothing, since they're both in the same pack. Alright, Leechcraft is pretty dang bad for this kind of deck. Really just any deck in the format unless you're really hurting for removal. So I'll just take a Spearmaster. It's also not particularly good. This pack doesn't really have anything for us. We just take some kind of big dirtly creature. Don't get to take a good instant or sorcery because there's only Gimli's... Excuse me, because there's only Gimli's Fury. I'll just take another Oliphant. Cast Into the Fire is actually a sweet piece of sideboard tech in certain matchups where you just need to be able to blow up one of their artifacts, or there are a lot of matchups where your opponent just has a ton of 1 toughness stuff to blow up, so I mean, I'll actually even just start it in the main deck for now, unless we get really good instants and sorceries. I'll take a 3rd Lancer. Now it's just Gimli's Fury Navigator. We've just opened up some nonsense pack 3, unfortunately. I'm just not going to play Theoden. I'm not going to try to Great Hall Theodens and all these other cards. I'm just going to stick to blue-red here. We'll take a Greyhaven's Navigator, but I'm not thrilled about that. Just putting it in the sideboard as an option. Wow, this was a pretty much a dud of a pack 3 as a whole. I don't think we saw, outside of Fear Fire Foes was a huge improvement, but after that, it's all pretty filler. We'll take Willow in now. Did not get the bounce spell back. We can take another Oliphant. Or could take Dreadful as the Storm as a combat trick. We've got actually a pretty high creature count for a blue-red deck, so I suppose we will be able to play that. Rare draft some uncommons. And I don't love how this deck panned out. It's certainly not terrible. We've got some excellent removal. We've got a Fiery Inscription for big damage, and then we're kind of just actually beating down with creatures alongside the Fiery Inscription. That's kind of weird. We've got some really good Ring Tempts You. So we can end some games with level 4 Ring Bearers. This deck might actually have some legs to it. It looks pretty weird though. It's not hyper focused, it's not hyper synergistic. It's not exactly where I like to be here, where I have 2 or 3 Fiery Inscriptions or 2 or 3 Gandalf Sanctions, and then a ton of 1 and 2 mana instant sorceries. It's not that kind of deck. But I think that all these moving parts will work together pretty well regardless. Drop the Oleg High Crusher. Got 3 Oliphants, so I could cut a land or 2. Yeah, I don't really hate anything else in this deck. I'll just cut the Crusher and the Cast Into the Fire. Pull those in out of the sideboard when we want them, and then cut 2 mountains, since we have 3 Oliphants working as mountains as well. Take another look at the curve, but I think we call it a deck there. Alright, here's a look at our final deck list for today. This is going to be a blue-red deck. We've got a bit of the spell synergies with a Fiery Inscription and a good amount of instants and sorceries here, but we've also got a lot of the Ring Tempting Us. We have 2 Bilbos, where the Ring tempts us when Bilbo enters or leaves the battlefield. 3 Lancers, where the Ring tempts us when they die. Gandalf as the main payoff for that, where we're drawing cards every time that the Ring is tempting us, and we're choosing non-Gandalf creatures as our Ring Bearers. But then we've also got like 3 Breaking of the Fellowship and Fiery Inscription, and Dreadful as the Storm having the Ring tempt us. So should be able to get to level 2 of the Ring very frequently. Use that to draw a card and discard a card all the time, dig for whatever we need, try to stay ahead in the game that way by drawing better cards than our opponent. But also, we can double up and use the Ring Bearer as our finisher, dealing that extra 3 damage every single combat. So some really powerful Ring Bearer shenanigans in this deck. Other than that, Solid curve of creatures, a little bit of a higher instant sorcery count than usual, so we get some value out of Fiery Inscription. But overall, kind of a high creature count for a regular blue-red deck in this format. Most of my blue-red decks have been super, super instant sorcery heavy, all in on Gandalf Sanction or all in on Inscription. But this is a pretty interesting one where we're more all in on the ring as our primary mechanic. So we'll see how it does for us as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for round 1 on the play. This is a super reasonable hand. It's not the perfect curve because we're not actually doing anything on turn 2, but it's not far off. Our opponent is on black and they're going to start off with a Haunt of the Dead Marshes to scry 1. Smite the Deathless is our draw, which is a pretty good draw, because if they play anything good, we've now got an instant speed removal spell up to blow it up and exile it. Our opponent is on black-green, and they're going to start things off with a Lembas to scry 1 and draw a card. They can sacrifice that later to gain 3 life and shuffle it back into their deck. Just keep perpetually eating the delicious cookies. Take my 1 damage from the Haunt, and we will jam out a... I was going to jam out a Haradrim Spearmaster, but now that I have a Bilbo, I'm pretty interested in doing that so I can get some treasure tokens soon. Use the treasure to play Gandalf for cheaper. Yeah, treasure tokens are going to be pretty big, so I'm going to drop a Bilbo here. Make Bilbo the Ring Bearer. And poke for 1. Making Bilbo the Ring Bearer so it's easier to connect and get the treasure tokens out of him. And if they use a removal spell on Bilbo, then we get to move the Ring Bearer around anyway. Okay. Have naturally hit land 4, so I guess I don't need the treasure, but I'm going to play the land pre-combat, so if they do anything weird that's going to blow up either of our creatures, I can cast Gandalf before our creature dies, and that way we'll draw a card when the Ring Bearer moves around. It looks like they're just going to block and cast Nasty End to draw a couple of cards. So we just hit for 2, none of our creatures die, or sorry, hit for 1 and none of our creatures die. We'll just cast Gandalf during their end step then. Gandalf also turns our Breaking of the Fellowship into an instant, which is nice. This card is significantly better at instant speed than it is at sorcery speed. So then you can do some pretty fancy things with it during combat. Alright, so Sam's Desperate Rescue, pick up the Haunt of the Dead Marshes, and replay the Haunt of the Dead Marshes. Alright. If they never draw a legendary creature, they can't, like, reanimate it naturally, so it's not even that good value, so I'm still not going to smite it just yet. I will play Gandalf here, though. Alright, so here comes Gandalf during their end step. And we have hit a 5th land, which is fine with me, because now I can drop Spearmaster and hold up either of these burn spells. And we'll give the Lancer an additional power, since they're probably just going to block Bilbo right now anyway. Yep. They're down to 13 now. We have 2 different burn spells up to clear out creatures. They're going to eat the cookie, though. I think they scried to the top, though, so now they've shuffled away whatever they scried to the top. So it must not have been that good for them. Ooh, rally, and I can still hold up a burn spell? I'll do it, it's extra damage. Buff the Lancer again, since it's our menace creature, it's our most likely creature to actually damage them. They play Stone Cold Nothing. See what happens when we go to our end step. But this is not going to pan out well for them if they have nothing to do with all 5 of their mana this turn. They don't. Alright, must be a really rough hand. Maybe they have a splash in there and they don't have their splash color. Maybe they're flooded out, but I think they missed a land drop. I have no idea what's going on. Maybe they've got a board wipe? Apparently not. I was gonna say maybe they had a board wipe and they just wanted us to overcommit to the board or something. No? A full grip of 7 cards there and they just couldn't do anything, so... We do not have a lot of information about their deck right now to use when sideboarding. We've seen 3 cards. We saw Haunt of the Dead Marshes, Nasty End, and Sam's Desperate Rescue. I don't think that's enough information to know if I should put Cast into the Fire in just because they have a single 1/1 Haunt of the Dead Marshes. Or if I should put in an Oleg High Crusher to try to trample over the Haunt of the Dead Marshes. I think we're just going to run it back and see what happens game 2. Here we are now for game 2. This is a risky hand because I don't have a blue source. But we've got that early inscription, which is pretty tempting. I think I should still mulligan this though. So I'll take the mulligan. This is much better. That panned out fine. I kind of want to try to Bilbo into the War Beast so we get rid of the Grishnak here. I'm on the draw. I could also get into a land, or get rid of a land, but that feels extra greedy. I don't know, I'm probably supposed to just get rid of the War Beast and draw some other big dork for later. But I kind of wanted to get rid of Grishnak because I don't love having 2 different 3-mana cards. And I do like the idea of Bilbo hit, get a treasure, and then play our 5-drop a turn early. But it's all really dependent on how things actually play out here. Okay, they've got a Haunt of the Dead Marshes again. That is it for now. They've got some kind of instant. It is land cycling the Generous Ent for a forest. There's a Mirror Guardian for a 4/2, and the ring tempts them when it dies. Okay, well I did draw into another War Beast of Gorgoroth, so that scry worked out pretty well for me. I could play Grishnak just to get a 2/2 so I can block and trade into the Guardian. But I'm gonna get a little greedy here. I guess this is a lot greedy, because they can just block the Bilbo with the Haunt anyway. But it's not like I hit them at all by playing Grishnak. I guess it's still good to trade into Guardian immediately, so... Not bad. Just preserve our life total till we can play our big dork. And try to use that. Gothmog, Morgul Lieutenant. Alright, this game is going significantly better for them than game 1. Gothmog is a very nice magic card. They're playing some real stuff. So now I'm not doing much, am I? Good breaking of the Fellowship and have their death-touching army kill their Gothmog? That's kind of hilarious. Because the creature itself deals the damage, so if the creature has Death Touch, it will do the thing. But then I don't play Bilbo this turn, and I feel like I should just play Bilbo this turn. Sure, let's just play Bilbo. Don't think any of my creatures are particularly good ring bearers against... They've got multiple 1/1s, they can double block Lancer and kill it. Only one creature, same with Grishnak. I guess we put it on the army then. But I'm not attacking with the army anyway, because I want to be able to block and trade into the Mirror Guardian. And Bilbo's not going to be a good ring bearer until their tokens don't have Death Touch anymore. So I can just move the ring bearer over to Bilbo when I cast Breaking of the Fellowship. And that does seem like a potentially solid line next turn, is to just have their death-touching army kill Gothmog so the army's no longer death-touching, and then I have a 1/3 ring bearer. They have no legends on board to reanimate the Haunt. They don't have any Death Touch on board to kill Bilbo. Could be good. It depends on what they play here. If they have another legendary or something. Or if they have the Ring Tempt them, and they can make a legendary Ring Bearer. Alright, another Bilbo. Well, currently I'm not really under any pressure, so I'm just going to keep going for mana efficiency and play the 5-drop. I don't think we really get punished for not immediately breaking and trying to get Bilbo attacks in. Like, they're not really hitting us either. We can just hang out for a little bit, play our best creatures, and then start clearing a path and getting in there. Another Bilbo in hand is really good. If the first Bilbo dies, that'll speedrun us to level 4 of the ring. We can use that as our potential win condition. Lash of the Balrog, sacking the Haunt to kill the Warbeast. That is a very good value for our opponent, because they can just reanimate the Haunt and Scry. At least the Warbeast does have a death trigger, so now we have a 4/4 army. We draw into a Rally at the Hornburg. So let's have their army kill Gothmog. I can start drawing a card and discarding a card every turn off of Bilbo, as well as potentially getting treasures, since they just won't have good blocks for Bilbo. I could attack with my army as well if I want to trade my 4/4 army into their 4/2, but that is significantly worse than it was before, where I was just trading a 2/2 into a 4/2. I'm going to have Bilbo be the Ring Bearer. I was going to say, why isn't it dead? And I was like, oh, state-based actions don't happen until this fully resolves and I choose my Ring Bearer. Right? Okay, thank God. I was going to say, if Arena glitched, because it's supposed to work that way, I was going to lose my mind. Okay, I don't think they have a way to kill Bilbo, but I think I should still attack first so I can draw discard, rather than playing Rally, because I'm not going to attack with any Rally tokens here anyway. Would I trade Lancer into the army? Just to have level 3 of the ring? Honestly, doesn't seem bad to me. Another Lancer? I actually think another Lancer is more exciting than a Rally right now. Moving the Ring Bearer around is big. I do have the ambush to kill the Bilbo, so level 3, and then I play Bilbo, and this one's level 4. And even if this Bilbo gets killed by another removal spell, I can move it to the Lancer when this Bilbo dies. Okay, this is big. This is big. That's 4 damage to the face with this Bilbo, if it ever connects. Ooh, Woe's Pathfinder. Speaking of things that are big, if they get to 7 mana, that's going to make them actually have good blocks for Bilbo. I guess they could triple block Bilbo, but they'd have to sack everything. Yeah, they don't have good blocks for Bilbo right now, but once they have 7 mana, they can block with a 1/1 and then buff that 1/1. I guess they just keep blocking with Haunt, but Haunt doesn't reanimate anymore, so they just do that one time. Yeah, I think I just attack with Bilbo and keep these Lancers for moving the ring around later. Drawn to a Smite the Deathless. That's a really good one. We could use that to clear out the Mirror Guardian and start attacking with our 4/4. And that is probably what we'll do. Take the Bilbo damage is their choice. So we get a treasure and they lose 3. This might be greedy, but I'm going to play the Lancer. I could keep it in my hand just to have something else to discard when we draw a card and discard a card next turn, but even if I have an empty hand, having a Ring Bearer attacking means that instead of drawing blind every turn, I get to pick the best card out of the top 2. Ooh, Fellbeast is very good. I guess I sack Grishnak. Okay, it's not horrible for us here, but Fellbeast is just a really strong card in general. Can't smite that. I could have my 4/4 trade up into it. We just kill the Guardian here. They're 1 mana off from Pathfinder starting to do things, but I can still have our Ring Bear make them sack their blockers every time. Maybe it's better to kill Pathfinder than Guardian and just keep not attacking with the army. Feels better to kill Guardian and just attack with both of these now. Oh, there's a Gandalf. Now that there's a Gandalf, we just attack with everybody. Discard whatever I draw. Sorry, Rohirrim Lancer. Number 3. Because now, whenever a Lancer dies, we draw a card. And obviously we get to kill our choice out of 2 of their creatures. Ooh, we got a double block with a Pathfinder there? Let's go. We get to kill the Pathfinder? I was actually pretty scared of that card. I'm going to draw 2 cards from Gandalf's ability. My god, look at all this. Draw a card. Draw a card. I've got a Breaking the Fellowship that I can cast at instant speed now, which has the Ring Tempt Us again, so we draw another card off Gandalf. Well, the Breaking the Fellowship isn't actually that good right now. Fiery Inscription is. Good grief. Yeah, draw another card here. I guess I could... It might be better to just play the big elephant. But I'm just going to play the Fiery Inscription and draw a card. I actually should have probably moved the ring to Gandalf now. Because I don't care about the treasure token anymore. So it hits a little harder if it ever gets in. Well, I guess it doesn't matter too much because either one is just not going to get in. Just going to get blocked by the Haunt. Drop a Spearmaster. So it is not summoning sick next turn. Pass the turn. Alright, they're going to eat their food. They're up to 13. Alright, and that's going to do it. Just some really, really, really good Ring Tempt shenanigans going on. Just passing the ring back and forth like we're playing hot potato. With the one ring. All these different ring bearers. Mainly it was just kind of Bilbo juggling the ring. And every time that Gandalf saw that ring land, Gandalf's like, alright, draw a card. Lots of value there. Pretty sweet way to start it off. We are 1-0 heading into round 2. Here we are for game 1 of round 2. Bit of an awkward hand. Don't think it's quite worth a mulligan, but if they've got the cheap removal for Bilbo, we're not really going to do anything. Because it's a pretty slow hand. Multiple 6-drops. We don't start till turn 3. But we are also at the mercy of our draws. We could hit some cheap stuff to play, and then the hand gets dramatically better. We could also just draw into a bunch more lands, and the hand will get worse. So far, we have started by drawing an extra land, which was super redundant, but we'll see where it goes from here. Gonna be against green-black again. Alright. Rohirrim Lancer is not the worst draw on the deck. We at least get to play something on turn 2. And they're going to send in the Watchdogs. We'll take 2 damage. They drop down another Watchdogs post-combat. So, uh-oh, 3 elephants. They're probably gonna just kill Bilbo. But if Bilbo doesn't die here, we're actually in a really good spot. Because none of their creatures can block Bilbo. I could have held up Lancer plus Bilbo, but that would be really bad against any combat tricks. Or instant speed removal or anything. Trying to double block and kill a Watchdogs, so I don't think I would want to make that line. So it's better to just chip in for the 1. Like, I don't even think I block with Bilbo here. I guess this is a free attack for them, which is what makes it really awkward. Is that they get to make this attack whether or not they have a combat trick, because it's not like, I mean, the worst that can happen for them is that 2 damage is stopped. The worst that happens for me is I lose a Bilbo, which is pretty dang bad. I guess at least if Bilbo dies, I have a level 2 Rohirrim Lancer, so I get to draw and discard and try to filter into good plays, so go for that. Alright, luckily they just have Rise of the Witch King. However, unluckily they have cycled a Troll, so they're going to get a 6/5 on the board on turn 4. That's completely impossible to block, and that's really not good for us. We drew another land, so hopefully Bilbo can dig out of that. We find Gandalf. Gandalf's castable this turn, so that's good. But I do think this Troll's going to kill us really quickly, because we have to have 3 blockers to block it, and it kills us in like 3 hits. 6 damage a swing. 3 attacks with that is 18 damage. I think we're just going to die to Rise of the Witch King combo here for this massive troll. But I'll do what I can. We do get a free kill on a Watchdogs with Gandalf. But now they've got a 4/5 as well. There's a Rohirrim Lancer. I'll have the mana to play a Lancer and an Oliphant. That's 3 blockers if they have nothing else to cast. So we'll see. Ooh, a Dreadful as the Storm also. I guess I probably have to discard one of these. Several gigantic elephants. Okay, I kind of have to play Lancer plus Elephant so that if they don't have removal, we have 3 blockers to triple block the Troll. Because I'm at 10 life. It'll be another 6 damage swing, so that would be super bad. To just actively choose to let it in again. This way they gotta have something to get it in. I guess they get to kill our Elephant and our Lancer if they attack, even if they don't have anything else, so it's still not a bad attack for them. But without another combat trick or removal spell, we don't have to worry about dying to the Troll anymore. Let's see it. Might just be getting a bunch of damage in. This way they get 4 damage in still. I imagine they kill the Elephant in the 1/1, but they might kill the Gandalf in the 1/1. Since Lancer draws us a card when it dies if Gandalf is still on board. If they have any instant speed removal, instant speed combat trick. This is going to crush us here, but that's kind of how Troll of Khazad-dûm works so well. It's like you have to get a really big board state to even block it to not die, and by the time you do, your opponent may have just drawn into an instant speed combat trick or removal spell that just destroys your whole board for even trying to, even thinking about blocking it. Oh, they had revived the Shire. Alright, well, that is very strong for them, but luckily it doesn't get to attack us this turn at least. Now they have Patrol with this Farmer, so they can sack the Farmer, draw a card, get another food. I feel like I'd rather just hold up Dreadful as the Storm. I guess I could just hold Lancer and chump block Patrol if they attack with it, so I can attack with Bilbo and Gandalf and play the Oliphant, discard this land. I think that's fine. Actually, ooh, Breaking of the Fellowship. Can't kill a Troll unless they play another, like, big creature. But it can kill the Ungol Patrol. Definitely something. And if Gandalf is still around, it'll draw us a card when we do it. Torment of Gollum off the top. That's pretty annoying, but honestly, it might just be better for us than if they'd played the Troll. I guess since we have the Breaking of the Fellowship in our hand, it would have been better if they just played the Troll. Can attack with the Oliphant and the Bilbo and still have a good amount of blockers up. I got Breaking of the Fellowship at instant speed to try to save Oliphant if weird stuff happens. I guess if I use Oliphant to buff Bilbo, which I have to do, I can't choose not to use Oliphant's ability, then they could double block with Farmer and the Orc Army. But then if Bilbo dies, I draw a card and get a level 3 Ring Bearer. That's honestly fine. I could also Breaking the Fellowship in response to the double block. I guess I could buff somebody other than Bilbo. That's an option. I think I'm going to buff Bilbo and then just do Breaking the Fellowship things. Which I guess they get to respond to with the Ungle Patrol, because that's instant speed. That's actually kind of annoying. They can just sack whatever I choose. And then the ring doesn't tempt me anymore. Actually, since it has 2 targets, if I choose to make the patrol deal damage to one of the other things, I think it'll still resolve. I guess this is a fine learning moment. We can figure it out here. Honestly, trade, move the ring over, draw a card, play a War Beast is probably better, though. I'm just going to do that. Sad day for the learning moment, but it is what it is. Ring Bearer onto the Lancer, draw a card. Drop War Beast. They're at 8 life, facing an Oliphant and a level 4 Ring Bearer from Breaking the Fellowship, so they probably can't afford to... I guess they literally can't afford to play the Troll. Hold up. I didn't even notice they didn't have 6 mana. I was going to say, so they probably can't afford to dump all their mana into playing the Troll, or they'll just die. They literally don't have enough mana to play the Troll, so I guess they definitely die. Oh, I can't cast the Breaking if they only have 1 creature on board. That's a little awkward. Well, I get to attack with everybody, regardless. Get some big numbers in. Holding up 1 blocker just in case they have instant speed removal or something pretty nasty. I don't think I need to trample up the War Beast, because if they block the War Beast, it's 5 damage to their 5 toughness, so it's practically like it already has trample. Okay, they're going to block the Oliphant. They didn't eat any food. They could have survived if they ate some food. I'm guessing they just didn't realize Arena was not going to give them an opportunity there after they clicked OK another time. I don't know, that was weird. That was weird. I think the game could have went on another turn, but we would have won after that, so that was pretty nice. Good recovery from the early troll. Just pretty luckily I didn't hit the 6th land to replay it, but I guess even if they did at that point, after we got all the ring shenanigans going on, they were definitely the ones on the defensive in the end. I don't have good sideboard options for this matchup. Cast into the Fire does not look good here. We saw 1/1 toughness creature. And we don't have any graveyard hate of any kind, so... yeah, there's not really anything to throw in here. We just run it back, hope for the best. Hope to get very tempted by the 1 ring. This is a good curve. Again, not a great curve, not a perfect curve, but we get to play a Fiery Inscription before we cast any other instants or sorceries. And we get a Lancer nice and early and a Spearmaster soon. This is probably gonna be another early Rise of the Witch King from our opponent. They do seem like probably a 2 or 3 Rise of the Witch King kind of deck. I do not have good blocks for the Watchdogs, so I will get in for my 1 point of damage. Okay, there's a Dunlin Kerbane. Wow, that is very good. It's super good if they play Rise of the Witch King next turn. They can sack a 1/1 or a 2/2 army to do it. I am not in love with this hand right now. Just because it's not very good against what they've ended up playing here. They're curving out more efficiently with a really spooky board. I guess I need to just play... I don't need to just play Spearmaster, but if I do just play Spearmaster, then if they make each player sack a creature, at least I have a Ring Bearer out. And then next turn I could play Fiery Inscription to make this a level 2 Ring Bearer, so I can start drawing and discarding and trying to find a good place to be from there. That seems alright. If I attack and they double block, then they play Rise of the Witch King next turn. I have no board. So let's just pass from there. Torment of Golem it is. They might just get rid of the inscription. Probably will. We've got 3 instant sorceries in this hand. I'm not actually that bummed about losing the inscription, because the main value is having the Ring Tempt us here. Don't think we're going to outrace them with Fiery Inscription damage anyway. It was mainly just it would let us get to level 2 of the ring without having to cast one of these. But now I've got to cast one of these instead, which is okay. Break the Fellowship, kill the Watchdogs, draw a card, discard a card. Lancer's fine. Drop a Lancer. Now we have a level 3 Ring Bearer if they have Rise of the Witch King, but it looks like that's not what they're doing here. Oh my god. Alright, this is going to be really annoying. Just a bunch of Torment of Golems. Our deck is not very good against a really big army. We don't have any removal in the whole deck that can deal with it. So they just make that army really big and we're going to have a rough time. So game 2 is already going very far in our opponent's favor because, again, we just can't deal with an army like that. Can try to outrace them with a level 4 Ring-Bearing Spearmaster, I guess. Just set that up and hope they've run out of removal. Just full speed away here. The race is on. They are outracing us on board, but it wouldn't take too many cards to flip the race in our favor. If we're luckier than they are with our draws here. We'll see. Alright, that is a very bad start. We are not good at killing high toughness creatures. Just another land for us. If I don't draw into a creature here, I insta-die. I do draw into a Hithlane Knots at least, so I don't die next turn. But if I just held the Spearmaster back just to chump block, that's already accepting defeat anyway, because there's no world in which we're going to win chumping with Spearmaster and taking 4 going to 6. I guess we would have outraced them if we got to keep our ring, which is pretty sad, because they're down to 7, and we maybe hit them for another 5 next turn, so it's actually a possibility we would have outraced them if they didn't have the Torment of Golem for our ring, which is not how I expected this to pan out. But that's looking like the case, because here's the Smite for the Vanguards. They've got no blocker. Yeah, we're going to lose by about 2 damage here. Unless we're really lucky and they've got nothing else, we can chump with Gandalf. Could also chump with Willowwind, but I'd rather just instant speed Gandalf so they don't know that we have the chump to survive a swing, so that they do just go all in and attack with both here. Wow. Alright, well that's a draw. Okay then. Never mind. That game went pretty bad for us overall, and we still got them down to 2, so I think our odds are solid in this matchup. But the Torment for the Fiery Inscription keeps us off the race, and the top deck Quick Beam to end it stops the Gandalf from saving us. We almost even got through the Torment on the ring. That was crazy. I was not expecting to get nearly that close. Yeah, again, don't think we have a great sideboard for this. We just gotta hope to have our cards line up a little better than they did there. Get back in there. Well, that's a horrible start. That is almost as bad, but I'm not gonna mulligan down to 5. I drop one of these Lancers and just really hope to find that blue source quick. Alright, not a great start. Well, Smite's very good against the Vanguard, at least. I thought I put you on the bottom, Lancer! The odds of me making it to 6 mana for Oliphant, they're pretty dang low. Probably need to just guarantee I hit a land drop this turn. I guess I hit some of my Gandalf card draw shenanigans and I end up needing to cast 2 spells in 1 turn later, and I'm like 1 mana off because I didn't hit every land drop. These things could happen. I'm so just out of cards already, though. There's the Kerbane. Very uncool. It's a Gandalf at least. Brandywine Farmer. Alright, well now I have an extra mega super hard to block Rohirrim Lancer. And if I hit my blue source, I have a level 2 Ring Bearer we can use to try to draw into the cards we need. If I hit the blue source, I'm probably playing Gandalf first. Oh, God. Well, we definitely tried. That's wholly unnecessary, but go for it. I have 4 Lancers? No, I mountain cycled. I shuffled and... My God, Arena. Shuffle the card that I put on the bottom of my deck to the top. At least, I thought I would be dead by now, but our opponent seems to have a bit of a slower hand as well. I mean, they're just like 1 mana off from starting to drop down their 4/5 style cards. But at least they haven't like double tormented me here, because then this game would have been over. Turns ago. If I trade here, then when I play a Bilbo, it's a level 4 Ring Bearer. Which is cool. But I just don't know when I'm getting an island, so I'm just gonna sit. Now I have to play the mountain in case I top deck another, I can play a War Beast. Could be chipping in for like 2 more damage because I think I'm still not quite at the chump point. I'm pretty sure you are too late. Let's find out. I don't get to draw a card when the ring tempts me here, because I don't have a creature other than Gandalf to make my Ring Bearer. Alright. That was not much of a game of Magic. Sad way to lose that round, but It is what it is. That is going to happen sometimes. I guess the only thing really in our power there was we could have mulliganed to 5, but mulliganing to 5, the vast majority of games are so far behind in cards, really not going to get anywhere. I don't think our keep was that unreasonable when the alternative was a mulligan to 5. Because the blue source made our keep a pretty reasonable hand of cards if we found it, and even if we don't find it, we had Lancer and Smite for some early stuff. Obviously worked out as poorly as it could have, but I think our literal only thing we could have done was mulligan to 5, in which case we probably still lose because we mulligan to 5 at the start of the game. Their hand was astronomically slow, but obviously we had no way to know that. So if there was ever a time we could win on a mull to 5, it would probably be a game like that where they give us the time to set things up and get rolling. Playing against green-white now. I think green-white is going to make enough food. I should just kill the watchdogs immediately while I've got the mana up, so I can tap out for Bilbo and feel fine about it. We do have a Smite the Deathless off the top, so now I don't even have to feel bad about wasting it if they play something better, and Frodo is better. Frodo and Bilbo. Gonna fight it off. Nah, we'll just Smite Frodo. Get our treasure token. And pass, and it's a good thing that we got to get an attack in with Bilbo here because we did not hit land 4. So we are going to make some good use of these treasure tokens, especially if I can get another one. We're playing against green, white, and blue from our opponent. The full Bant. The most boring Shard of Alara. Lembas is the play. Scry 1 and draw a card. Eat the cookies later. The biscuits. They do hit a land drop, so they play it out and pass the turn. We have hit a land as well, so we can play our War Beast now, and that is likely the play. The only thing to be a little sad about that is if they have the 1 and a blue counter a creature, but I think it's still better to try to get the 5/4 down than the 3/4 flyer. Alright, they are just going to shuffle the Lembas back into their deck and gain a few life. So we do resolve the big War Beast. They are green, white, blues. They could definitely have exile style removal where we don't get an army off of the War Beast when it dies. That would be a little sad. There's a Landroval, a 3/4 that does not block either of our creatures well, and then I could just play another War Beast post-combat, so we're just racing in. Bilbo and the War Beasts of Gorgoroth coming in hot. What kind of eclectic army is this? All ends of the spectrum. Shortcut to mushrooms. They get a +1/+1 counter during their end step if one of their permanents leaves the battlefield. So right now, just the ring tempts them so they can draw and discard every time they attack. There's a Butterbur, so now they're going to get a food token during their end step every turn. And that food token can get sacked, so the shortcut puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature and they gain 3. I think I'm just going to kill Butterbur immediately, and that will bring my ring to level 2. And with that, I get to draw a card, discard a card, dig for some stuff here, and then we get to Knots down the Landroval. There's a Fiery Inscription. I think I'd rather just tap the Landroval, scry 1, draw a card, than drop a Fiery Inscription right now. Because they're at 4 life, I don't need to ping them off my instants and sorceries currently. I forgot about the treasure tokens too. So I guess if I kept the land, discarded the Willow Wind, I could have played the Inscription and then the Knots. Yeah, that was important. That would have been better, discarding the Willow Wind so I could play both Inscription and Hithlane Knots. They'd go down to 2, and we'd tap their creature, stop them from drawing a card, discarding a card. Okay, now I really need to stop them from drawing a card, discarding a card, because if they do, Prince Imrahil is going to give them a 1/1, and they'll have 2 blockers. Spearmaster's fine, I'll take it. There's a Many Partings. That's going to give them another food token. And a land. So if they haven't played their land for turn, they get to play land number 4 in terms of untapped mana. So they can eat 2 foods and go to 10 life. So we definitely don't kill them on this attack, but we do force them to chump with the 2/2. Oliphant is the draw. That could be cool for the future, but for now let's just hit harder and play the Spearmaster. They're at functionally 10 life, so if I buff Bilbo, they still need to chump a Warbeast. So I'm going to buff Bilbo. That gets the most damage in because they're going to chump one of the 5/4s. Rohirrim Lancers, interesting. Kind of like all these cards. I'm going to actually get rid of Fiery Inscription because we have no other instants or sorceries right now. Alright, they're going to eat all the food and go to 3. Let's drop that Lancer. Landroval's coming in, mainly drawing them a card, discarding a card. And that is not going to be a solution to the board state, so we will start off 1-0 in round 3. I did not see a lot of 1/1s. They could make 1/1s with Prince Imrahil, but I don't think that's a reason to throw in Cast into the Fire. And we also didn't see any artifacts outside of food tokens, so it's not good for that card either. Pretty cool with the main deck as it is. I'm just going to run it back. Our opponent is on the play for game 2, and I'm pretty happy with this hand. It's pretty reactive. We're not doing a lot of stuff proactively, but we've got a Lancer to start it off and a Willow Wind to end it. Well, now we've got a Warbeast to end it. That was really good last game, so we'll see how it does this time. But our middle-of-the-road plays here are a lot of cards for just blowing up their cards, so if they don't do much in the middle, then we're just going to be sitting here as well. So it could play out pretty awkwardly for sure. Poke for 1, pass the turn. They are on mono white so far in their 3-color deck. Errand Rider of Gondor can help them quite a bit though. Draw a card, get rid of some off-color card from their hand. Bilbo as the top deck is actually phenomenal. Because I had no action to do here. I could just Fear Fire Foes the Errand Rider of Gondor, but I don't think that's where it's at. So very happy to top deck Bilbo there. That was perfectly timed. They do have their green source now, so they're green and white. And there's Frodo. Break the Fellowship, have the Errand Rider kill the Frodo. Seems reasonable to me. Makes our Ring Bearer level 2, so we get to draw and discard as well. Let's go for it, see what happens. Alright, Frodo dies. Keep that Ring Bearer on Bilbo so we can get our treasure tokens. So if I get a bunch of treasure tokens, I can just keep discarding lands. I don't think I want to discard one right now. This is kind of awkward, but I'm going to discard Grishnak even though it's playable this turn. I think I'd rather play all these big dorks soon. But for now, it's like I want to get this treasure, I want to play a land drop for turn, and then next turn I start playing 5 drops and 6 drops every turn. I probably should have just discarded Willow Wind again. This card just keeps being the weakest card in hand. If I discarded Willow Wind, we could have played Grishnak just to have a 1/1 and a 2/2, which would be fine. But again, their deck seems slower, so I don't think we need to just insta make 1/1s and 2/2s here. Call of the Ring. That would be a way to win a game. Okay. So that's going to have the Ring tempt them at the beginning of their upkeep every turn. If they have a creature on board to make a Ring Bearer, they get to pay 2 life and draw a card every time they do it, which is really good with food tokens. And they'll basically always have, any creature they have could be a level 4 Ring Bearer, which is very threatening, so I'm going to have to try to keep their board clear. I think I'm going to give them a turn. I'm going to let them make that a Ring Bearer. I assume they have like at least one other creature in hand. I don't think I should just Fear Fire Foes here when, if I do, because it costs me 3 mana, I won't be able to play any other creatures. I think I should play like an Oliphant right now. And then try to change things. I'm going to discard the Willow Wind now. This time. Yeah, then I try to Fear Fire Foes something. I don't know, I definitely don't like seeing that. But Oliphant plus Lancer, that's a lot of extra damage attacking next turn. And they only have 1 food token right now. Alright, pay 2 life, draw a card. They could attack, draw a card, discard a card. They are gonna do that. Probably just blow up whatever blocker they play. Because sure, I wouldn't be blowing up the Ring Bearer, but everything on their board could be the Ring Bearer. They just choose whatever creature they want during their upkeep. Old Man Willow. Actually don't have the mana to kill that because it's a 6/6. Jesus Christ. If I top deck a land, I can kill it, I guess. And also, if they don't block Oliphant, they are taking a lot of damage, so they might just trade. We do top deck a land, so I can Fear Fire Foes the Willow post-combat with land plus treasure, so I'll get rid of Survivor. Because if they trade and I don't have to Fear Fire Foes it, then I'll play a War Beast. But if they don't trade, then I will Fear Fire Foes that. Okay, they're gonna eat a food. Old Man Willow's gonna die. And we'll see what they've got. They're at 7. They have a level 3 ring-bearing Errand Rider of Gondor. But they didn't trade into our Oliphant, so without removal, they're in a really bad spot. If they have removal, we've still got a fight on our hands. Because without Oliphant, I only hit them for 3 damage next turn. Which is significant. It would put them down to 4, but it would not take a lot for them to outrace us if they have a removal spell for Oliphant. Because next turn, their Ring Bearer hits for 6 if it connects. Obviously, it depends on the power of the Ring Bearer, but it's a guaranteed 3 extra damage on top of whatever the Ring Bearer would do otherwise. More food! More food is really good in a race situation like this. And there's a blue source. They are going to send in the Errand Rider of Gondor, draw a card, discard a card. Discard a forest. We're down to 8. Next turn we have to worry about whatever the Ring Bearer is hitting us for an extra 3 damage, so we might want to hold back a Lancer or 2. Harwin's Gift, scry 2 and draw 2 is the play. With only 2 mana up, they could eat the food, go to 10, but they're dead on board. They need something cheap here if they're digging like that. and they do not find it. We are going to be 2-0 in the final round, so 2-1 out of this traditional draft. There's definitely some flaws to the deck. We could definitely draw cards in the wrong order, and that is a lot of what happens in round 2, but when we've got something like Gandalf or Bilbo going and we're getting to that level 4 of the ring pretty consistently, we're just doing some pretty fun, pretty spicy stuff. So again, I think 2-1's a really reasonable place for this deck to be. I would have loved to win round 2. I think we definitely could have. Maybe I could have found extra damage in that game where we got our opponent down to 2. Or maybe I could have mulliganed more aggressively in the final game, mulliganed down to 5. That's all that I think we could have really changed dramatically there. But overall, I had a lot of fun with this deck. This is definitely one of these decks that I was talking about where if you can get a lot of cards where the ring tempts you, you can kind of just build a deck all around the one ring, getting that ring onto some nice little ring bearers and shipping away with them. You can do that in pretty much any color. Like, I've played black-red decks that have had a lot of ring tempting. That was the main core of the deck. I've played black-white decks like that. And now we've played a blue-red deck that wasn't that concerned about instants and sorceries, was a lot more concerned with just having the ring tempt us a lot. So, pretty interesting deck. Biggest underperformers and overperformers, I would say underperformer goes to Willowwind, and I probably should have been discarding it even more heavily than I was. For biggest overperformers, I don't think there was anything that was a huge overperformer. Everything that I liked played well. And everything that I didn't like that much, like Breaking the Fellowship and stuff, also didn't play that much better than I expected it to. So I guess biggest overperformer goes to like Breaking the Fellowship. Usually I don't like these a lot. But they were part of what made our hands really awkward in round 2. That got us into some awkward losing games there. So I guess those still balance out to about where I thought they were. Maybe Gandalf or Bilbo, because I mean, I thought they were going to be pretty good for this deck, but they were both absolutely absurd, really important cards. Maybe even Warbeast to Gorgoroth. Wasn't expecting just a 5-mana 5/4 to be a solid finisher in a lot of those games. Or Oliphant. Oliphant won a lot of games too. Overperformer kind of goes to pretty much the whole deck, outside of the cards that I already considered to be S tier. Cards like Grishnax and Smites and stuff I've already played a lot. So yeah, I guess the deck as a whole, generally during the gameplay, I would say an overperformer. 2-1 is about what I would expect out of this. It was just a shame to lose how he did in round 2. I think we probably could have pulled it out if we played really, really tight, and definitely if we drew a little better. So 2-1 is going to end today's draft. And that is also going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the videos. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the join button or check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.